Are you sick and tired of that person disrespecting you? Of that person saying mean and hurtful things to you or doing things you don't prefer? And are you struggling to set a healthy boundary? Well, great. And I'm sorry to hear that. However, in this video, I am going to go ahead and talk about how to set healthy boundaries and the importance of doing so. And I'm Ventzi. I'm your divine feminine empowerment and spiritual awakening coach. And I'm here to help you move from the fear that you have in your life to the freedom of living to your fullest expression. Cultivate deep and meaningful relationships, non-romantic and romantic, with others. And most importantly, falling completely in love with your life. And just when you think you cannot take another step, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little push, a little nudge, so you can fall in love with yourself. Let's get it. First, we want to dissect this and find out, why are we not setting healthy boundaries? What's the struggle and the block that we're coming to that's not allowing us to express vulnerably how we're feeling and put an end to this draining energy, right? So if you tend to find yourself being a people pleaser and somebody who has a difficulty in saying no to others, this might be a probability. Because one, when somebody oversteps your boundary, right? Let's say you overstep my boundary, and I'm going to let it happen because I'm going to recluse because I want to be nice. That might have been kind of loud. Because I want to be nice. And I want to recluse and avoid that tension of possibly starting an argument or hurting their feelings because I don't prefer what they're doing and it's just who they are, right? However, what if we're actually avoiding confrontation? In the process of doing so, we're also not allowing them the opportunity to grow and expand their consciousness as part of the process. Now, this also can lead to being passive aggressive, meaning you're going to recluse and you might start doing weird behaviors and protest behaviors of things that you normally don't do, or you're going to be more quiet, more silent even around this person, maybe walking on eggshells, which freaking sucks. I mean, they're sharp and pointy and, oh look, there's one, ow. Right? And let me know if you can relate, if you've ever been in this situation, or if you're struggling with something like this, and how I can help you, because I would love to support you on your journey. And maybe if you have a better way in expressing boundaries, because I know I'm not perfect. However, I'm going to share my experience and what I've learned to help me set these healthy boundaries. So now that we understand its possibilities that maybe you're a people pleaser, I know I was, lack of worthiness, validation, approval from others. So I would sacrifice my own needs to meet other people's needs. Because my deep, dark, empath, people pleaser secret, wanted their validation and approval. I wanted them to stay in my life, so I was willing to sacrifice my own needs to keep them in my life because I was unworthy, or I was in fear that if I speak up, I'll lose them. And now, when am I ever going to find a new friend, a new partner? Oh, boo-hoo, all these sob stories, right? Keeping me in this toxic, familial pattern. Familial is from family, and it's a familiar energy because a lot of the times we pick up people pleasing from parent patterns, from our parents, right? If mom and dad wasn't there to give us enough attention, right, we're going to start feeling unworthy, that we didn't get mom or dad's love. Well, it's not their fault, they just didn't know how to love you. And I am going a little off the rails here, except you get it, right? People pleasing, trying to get your needs and validation met by sacrificing your own needs. In a way, it is kind of manipulative though, right? To get your needs met of having somebody fill those needs. However, you sacrifice your well-being in the process. So back to the passive aggressive, right? In doing so, we're hoping that this person is going to notice that, well, we're not acting normal, right? We're going to hope that they'll figure it out, our problem with them, in hopes that, it gets solved. Or they're going to be like, they're going to come running to you. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I treated you this way. I realize my actions and my behaviors. Well, guess what? If they're not accustomed to doing the inner work or taking responsibility for themselves to begin with, and you're already having issues to the point where you can't and don't feel comfortable expressing your own needs and vulnerability to them, you're already walking around eggshells towards someone who is not very emotionally mature and maybe even self-aware. So it is time to kind of question the relationship, right? However, you're not going to give them the opportunity to grow out of that emotional immaturity if you don't set your boundary. So how do we set this boundary, right? Well, let's say there's somebody doing something you don't like, or maybe they get emotionally triggered, right? You get in an intense conversation with them or something, and you kind of want to scurry away out of fear. Well, it's important to set the boundary ASAP. Okay? And the reason being why is because, number one, if you don't, you will build resentment towards this person, and it gets worse and worse, and the relationship deteriorates. Along with that, how to set this boundary is you straight up let them know, and you let go of the outcome and the attachment to maybe they leave my life. Maybe they evolve and grow. Doesn't matter. What's important is you don't suppress yourself in your voice, because then that stores this trauma in the body. Hey, person, I feel disrespected and uncomfortable when you say these things to me. When you do this behavior, identify to them the behavior that they're doing, and you express it as, I feel this when you do this. Okay? You never ever say, you make me feel. Why? Because you make me feel unhappy, or you make me feel happy. Right? Well, you're putting your power into that person, because you're putting your happiness externally, that they're the ones that provide you happiness, that they're the ones that make you unhappy. Guess what, Buttercup? We're not in control of a lot. We are in control of our emotions. Okay? That is the one thing. It takes some self-mastery to do, and the law of attraction is a great motivational tool for that purpose. This isn't going to be a law of attraction video. I hope not. I mean, we're already tossing it around. I have plenty of other videos on that. Back to boundaries. So, emotional mastery. That's what takes a little bit of time and practice to figure out. That's why it's called mastery. You eventually master it. And that is what you're in control of. You're able to actually even imagine your feelings. That's what meditation is so good about, is because you can become familiar with the vision or a place in your imagination and feel the feelings as if it was here now. That's so beyond magical. To do it in your own mind, right? So there's one method. Again, you are in control of your emotions once you reach that point. And you can't put your power outside of you, and somebody can make you feel something other than what you choose to feel. Okay? So express that to them, and then after that, now that you have set this boundary, it's up to them to figure it out. Whether if they choose to grow and respect you, or they're not going to respect you, then guess what? Sayonara, motherfucker. It's time for them to go. Peace out of your life. They've served the purpose, and maybe that purpose was you learning how to set a healthy boundary, use your voice, speak up. Or they grow with you, right? The best possible outcome, and say, And maybe they apologize and they do want to shift their behavior, and they realize, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't realize how I was making you feel, or I didn't realize how my actions and behaviors were affecting you. Empower them to give them the opportunity to grow, because that's the best way people get to grow. All right? And now there's reinforcement to the boundary. The reinforcement is let's say, a week or two goes by, they do that thing again. They leave your toothpaste out, I don't know, crazy roommate. All right, well, let them know, hey, we did speak about this and you agreed that this wasn't going to be a thing anymore. And I just want to make sure we're still on the same page. I don't know, maybe if you forgot. Do you remember our conversation? Yeah, so reinforce it, because sometimes people do forget. Sometimes it's not easy to get into a new habit. Maybe once or twice reinforcement, and after that, I don't know, get a contract and a piece of paper and have you both sign it. And then after that, like, sayonara, motherfucker. Right? You can't keep trying to fix people's habits when they're not willing to do the work and change. Like, they clearly don't respect you enough and your boundary and your mental health and your sanity that they're willing to make the shift and effort for you. Not that you're trying to control them to shift. It's that you want better for your life, and if they want to stay in your life, they recognize how much you mean to them, and they want to love you. They want to express that in a way that's loving, and that's why setting a boundary in a loving way is so important, and doing it in the midst of the argument. If you have enough self-control, great. Or during the actual time it's time to set the boundary, and maybe you need some space before you set the boundary. Then go and do it. And the longer you wait, the more resentment builds on, and the harder it is to set a boundary from an unconditional loving place. Now, I had a situation with the roommate, and guess what? I struggled for a long time setting boundaries. Because people pleaser, I was abused growing up. I was afraid of getting intention, like an intention thing, because speaking my emotions and feelings, I would be abused doing that by my dad growing up. So it's just like, I wasn't allowed to. Neither was my mom. We both suppressed a lot of our stuff. So believe me, I've been through a lot of my shadow, and I still go through it. And I'm still healing. It's an ongoing thing. It's always new levels, same devils. All right. However, last year I had a really bad roommate situation where I had this roommate who wanted to hire a maid and asked me to start paying for the maid too, while the maid cleaned her room and like her boyfriend's room or whatever, and then the common areas. I didn't want my room to be clean or anything. I take care of my own stuff and I clean up after myself. However, I said, no, this is your lifestyle. If you want a maid because you don't like to clean, which she did not. Like, one time we had a fruit fly infestation and I was out on a camping trip, and when I came back, she knew about the fruit flies, left them there, and didn't do anything about them until I came back. And I confronted her like a couple months after, and I asked, and I'm like, were you aware of this? She's like, yeah, I was, and I didn't do anything about it. I'm sorry. Like, it's like, all right, wow. So anyway, back to it. She asked me to pay for it. I said no. Every month, she would continue asking me to pay for the maid. I kept saying no. And my landlords knew about this too, that this was like becoming an issue, because she was like complaining about it, that I don't want to pay for a maid. It's like, I don't have any obligation to pay for your maid. And she wanted me to pay a third of the maid bill when the maid was cleaning her room and her boyfriend's room on top of that, and not even considering the fact that she's not cleaning my room. Like, she still wanted me to pay a third. Wild, right? She didn't even like give the discount. Anyway, she sent me emails. I kept saying no. She sent me texts every month, emails, kind of whimpering in my voice, because it's just like the cringe of it was like a level of harassment, right? So I said no. Landlords knew this was an issue, and like, they didn't do anything about it. They just let her keep doing this, and eventually I reached the point of silence. I avoided it, and I just never responded to it anymore, right? And I kept building this resentment. It kept happening and happening, and then one time after a party, she asked, hey, do you want to chip in for the maid this time? And her normal monthly routine. And I lost it. And this is over text with our landlords. And I said, I had to set the boundary. Finally lost it, right? And I'm like, hey, you've been nonstop asking me about this maid every month. I have emails. I've been saying no. This is your lifestyle. I am not paying for this maid. Please stop asking me. I feel harassed over this question. She replied to me, and I realized she's very narcissistic, kind of wild. And she replied to me. She's like, I'm feeling pretty chill. I'm sorry you're feeling harassed over this. I'll stop asking about the maid, right? She actually also said, you exhaust me, by the way. Like, I drain her with the maid thing from not replying to her. Actually, she actually admitted in the text conversation, that now that it's coming back to me, that you hardly ever reply. I'm lucky I even got a reply out of you. You exhaust me. I'm feeling pretty chill. I'm sorry you feel harassed. Like, I'll stop. Okay. The outcome wasn't, her response wasn't like, very cool. Like, it wasn't very understanding. She finally stopped. She finally freaking stopped because I feel harassed. And I was so scared to say those words, to say I feel harassed. Because that's a really big thing. Like, you use that in HR, like on a job, right? Like, they look into that very deeply. It's a very strong word. I was afraid of hurting her feelings through this. And I finally couldn't take it. So, set healthy boundaries, step into that, letting go of the outcome, and the longer you keep holding on to not setting this boundary or giving the person the opportunity to grow and see you fully, the longer you're denying them the opportunity to grow, and the longer you're denying your peace in your environment. All right. So let me know in the comments if you can relate to any of this. I would love to support you with anything else. Have a wonderful, magnificent, transformative, alchemizing day. Please like and subscribe and follow and hit that notification button so you know when my content does come out. Love and light vibration out. Bye.